Just take a look at Garnacho's cross for the opening goal. And what a perfect header that was from Gusto. Garnacho was simply on fire yesterday, providing 2 assists as Chelsea cruised past Wolves 3-0 at Stamford Bridge. At the time of making this video, Chelsea sits 6 points behind league leaders Arsenal and holds second place in the table. Now, let's take a look at the tactical analysis of the match. Enzo Maresca's men lined up in a 4-2-3-1 formation, with Delap making his first Premier League start since returning from injury. On the other side, James Collins' Wolves set up in a 5-3-2 as they looked to find a way back into winning form. When Wolves were in possession, they looked to transform their 5-3-2 shape into a 3-3-4 structure. Both fullbacks, Hugo Bueno on the left and Jackson Chachua on the right, pushed high up the pitch to join the attacking line alongside Jurgen Strand Larsen and Hee-chan Hwang. This movement turned their front 2 into a temporary front 4, giving Wolves more width and height in attack. Behind them, a back 3 was formed with Toti Gomez on the left, Ladislav Krejci in the center, and Santiago Bueno on the right. The idea was clear, and by creating numerical superiority higher up the pitch, Wolves could limit the number of Chelsea players available to press and progress the ball through the thirds with less pressure. In this setup, Wolves' midfield 3 of João Gomez, André, and Jean-Rickner Bellegarde stayed compact and close to the defensive line. Their role was to offer passing lanes and act as link players when Chelsea pressed high. When Wolves built up from the back, they often circulated the ball between the center backs and the goalkeeper, waiting for the right moment to play into midfield. However, when Chelsea increased their pressing intensity, Wolves adapted again. They morphed that back 3 into a temporary back 4 by involving their goalkeeper Sam Johnstone as an auxiliary defender. Johnstone would step up between Krejci and Bueno, effectively turning the build-up line into 4 players. The 2 wide center-backs then stretched wider across the pitch to pull Chelsea's press apart and create space centrally. Toti Gomez's positioning on the left side of defense was particularly important. He often drifted wide, almost like a fullback, to drag Chelsea's right-sided players out of shape. This movement was designed to open gaps through the middle for João Gomez or André to drop in, receive, and progress the ball under less pressure. But Maresca's Chelsea had clearly studied this pattern. They set pressing traps rather than pressing blindly. Instead of engaging Toti Gomez immediately, they waited for him to receive the ball. As soon as he did, Gusto or Estevão would close him down aggressively, while the rest of the backline shifted across to cover the open space behind Gusto. This timing was crucial. It prevented Wolves from easily playing short passes down the line or inside, and allowed Chelsea to overload that area of the pitch. By doing this, they could quickly win loose balls or intercept second passes before Wolves could transition. Another important detail in Chelsea's press was how their front 4 coordinated movement. Garnacho, Pedro Neto, Estevão, and João Pedro formed the first line of pressure, positioning themselves man-to-man on Wolves' build-up line. Garnacho and Neto pressed the center-backs, while Estevão and João Pedro blocked passing lanes into midfield. This forced Wolves to play more predictable passes across the back, or backwards to the goalkeeper, which was exactly what Chelsea wanted. Whenever Wolves tried to escape through the middle, Chelsea's midfielders, especially Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, were quick to step in and close the space. Their compact spacing between the lines ensured that Wolves had no easy central progression. As a result, Wolves were repeatedly forced into long balls towards Jurgen Strand Larsen, hoping to use his height advantage against Trevoh Chalobah. But that plan didn't work. Larsen managed to win only about 20% of his aerial duels, and even in those moments, Chelsea's structure was well organized. Their midfielders were always positioned to win second balls, preventing Wolves from turning aerial wins into dangerous counterattacks. This phase of play showcased how disciplined Chelsea's pressing has become under Maresca. The press was not just aggressive, it was intelligent, coordinated, and patient. They knew when to engage, when to hold, and how to close down the space around the ball. In short, Wolves' attempt to outnumber Chelsea in possession never truly worked. The Blues' compact shape, timing of pressure, and coverage behind the press neutralized Wolves' build-up completely, forcing them to go long and lose control of the midfield battle. Chelsea didn't just stop Wolves from playing, they dictated the rhythm, forced turnovers in advanced areas, and controlled the match from the front. When Chelsea were in possession, Wolves didn't press them aggressively. Instead, they opted for a compact low block, defending in a 5-4-1 shape. The idea was to close down central spaces, stay organized, and limit Chelsea's progression through the middle of the pitch. Because of this, Chelsea were able to build patiently from the back. When moving the ball forward, both Cucurella and Gusto often stepped into midfield, forming a midfield four alongside Enzo Fernandez and Enzo Caicedo, while Chalobah and Fofana stayed deeper as the only two defenders. This was possible because Wolves rarely pressed Chelsea's backline directly. They preferred to sit deep and wait for mistakes. Chelsea's build-up varied depending on who had the ball. When Fofana was in possession, he frequently carried the ball forward himself, driving through the half spaces and breaking Wolves' first line of pressure with his movement. Chalobah, on the other hand, relied more on his passing range, picking out players like Garnacho, Enzo, Juan Pedro, Pedro Neto, Gusto, or Delap to advance play. After Wolves went behind in the second half, they began to press with more aggression. Their shape changed and pressing triggers became more defined. Matheus May stepped up to press Robert Sanchez, Jurgen Strand Larsen went after Chalobah, João Gomes pressed Caicedo, and Hugo Bueno moved higher to close down Gusto. To deal with this higher pressure, Sanchez started stepping into the defensive line, creating a temporary back three. This allowed Chelsea to stretch Wolves' press horizontally and open up new passing angles. Fofana drifted wider, the same as Cucurella, while Sanchez and Chalobah acted as the central defenders. This structure provided more width and gave Chelsea short options on both sides to escape pressure. Once Chelsea managed to bypass Wolves' press, they immediately looked to attack with numbers. Both Enzo Fernandez and Gusto moved into the half spaces, while Pedro Neto and Garnacho stayed wide to stretch the back five. João Pedro operated between the lines just behind Delap, providing a link between midfield and attack. This setup was designed to pull Wolves' backline apart, creating gaps in the defensive line to exploit. On the left side, Enzo, Garnacho, and Cucurella frequently formed passing triangles, with Enzo making overlapping or underlapping runs to deliver crosses into the box. Their movement gave Santiago Bueno and Jackson Chachua a difficult time defensively. On the opposite flank, Gusto provided similar support for Pedro Neto, offering himself as a passing option, combining quickly and at times cutting inside to create overloads. When Chelsea's wingers received the ball, they often used their pace and 1-versus-1 ability to beat their fullbacks and deliver crosses or cutbacks into the penalty area. This exact approach led to the opening goal, as Garnacho's cross from the left found Gusto, who timed his run perfectly and headed the ball into the net. On other occasions, Chelsea's wingers looked for cutback passes toward the edge of the box, targeting late runs from Enzo or João Pedro. Overall, Chelsea's structure and possession was balanced and fluid. Their ability to shift between different shape, from a 2-4-4 in build-up to a 3-2-5 in attack, allowed them to dominate possession, stretch Wolves' compact shape, and create consistent openings down both flanks. Chelsea showed great tactical maturity, controlled when in possession, disciplined without the ball, and ruthless in attack. Their ability to adapt to Wolves' press and exploit spaces made the difference on the day, earning them a well-deserved 3-0 victory. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below who your man of the match was. It really helps the channel grow.